Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson. Also known as BrightShine right here in the city of Memphis in the county, Shelby State, Tennessee. Today, date, Sunday afternoon, September the 28th, 2025, time 4:31 p.m. First, I thank my family, my support, continue to encourage support. I'll continue to keep myself employed in Memphis, tri-state area. I'll continue to further my education by studying being administrative contract and marketing, trying to earn my associate degree. Now at this present time, I took a break from going to school. In the future, I'm gonna go back to school and continue to continue my education by trying to earn my associate degree, being administrative contract and marketing, as well as the other degree. Now, I'm gonna start my Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson. Also on the BrightShine right here in the city of Memphis, city county, Shelby State, Tennessee. And today's date, Sunday afternoon, September the 28th, 2025, time 4:32 a.m. p.m. 4:32 p.m. First, second, thank you my family, my support for you, team, encourage support, and continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area, continue to further my education, and trying to pursue my social degree, studying being my trade contract marketing. Present time, took a break from going to school. In the future, I'm gonna continue to continue working on my education, and I'm gonna continue trying to earn my social degree in being a trade contract marketing as well as other degrees. Now, sign in on this right quick. Now, I know I'm starting my video a little bit later than usual. One of my intent, unexpected things come up and cause me to be able to start my video a little later than what I intend. Excuse me. And so, like I said, start my video a little bit later than usual. Not my intent. No, like I said, unexpected things sometimes come up, but still wanted to make my video. So if it be 30 minutes or an hour, but gonna continue to talk about. We'll continue to talk about prehistoric religion, traditional, ancient African religion, indefinite. And in the process of talking about prehistoric religion, traditional, ancient African religion, don't overlook math. Now you have the branches of science, formal sciences, the natural sciences, social sciences. Don't overlook math. Now, talking about prehistoric religion. Let me click back over right quick. In prehistory, like I said, unexpected things come up. But prehistory. And 99% of human experience when we talk about prehistory, the period before written records. And we're talking about being human. That's a lot of time. Prehistory. And we're talking about being human. The cognitive abilities are important, because being human the archaic humans So, the archaic human in prehistory, cognitive abilities. They get the dictionary. Cognitive of relating to or being conscious intellectual activity as thinking, remembering, reasoning, or using language. Cognition, the process of gaining knowledge through thought, experience, and the senses. Cognition. Cognition. The process of gaining knowledge through thought, experience, and the senses. Cognition. Now, cognition. Now we got artificial intelligence overview. Cognition refers to the mental processes involved in knowing, such as thinking, learning, remembering, perceiving, and problem solving, allowing individuals to acquire knowledge and understand their world. It encompasses various cognitive processes like attention, memory, and language, and is essential for interpreting sensory information, forming thoughts and beliefs, and interacting with their environment. Now, key aspects of cognition. Perception, the process of taking in information through the senses and interpreting it to understand their environment. Attention, the ability to focus on specific stimuli while filtering out distractions. Learning, acquiring new information, behaviors, and skills by integrating new data with existing knowledge. Memory, the process of encoding, storing, and retrieving information, allowing for the retention of learned material. Language, the complex mental processes involved in understanding and producing communication. Thinking and reasoning, analyzing information, drawing inferences, and making decisions. Problem solving, using thought process to find solutions to challenges. Why is cognition important? Understanding the world. Cognition allows us to make sense of our surroundings and the information we encounter, functioning in daily life. It enables us to interact with others, plan, and execute tasks in our everyday lives. Self-awareness. Cognition is what makes us unique, enabling us to have preferences, fears, and intuition. Adaptation. Through cognition, we can learn from our experiences and adapt to new situations. How is cognition studied? Behavioral and cognitive neuroscience. Scientists study the behavioral and neural mechanisms underlying cognitive processes. Computational models. Researchers develop computer programs to stimulate human thought processes such as learning and problem solving. Neuro imaging techniques. Tools like fMRI and EEG help map and measure brain activity related to cognitive functions. Now, over here on Wikipedia, cognition. Now, let me click over here. Let me see. Okay, okay, well, on the Paleolithic, when you get the meaning of the word Paleolithic, the old Stone Age. And Paleolithic is a period in human prehistory, distinguished by the original development of stone tools. So, clicked over here to stone tools. Stone tools have been used throughout human history, but are most closely associated with prehistoric cultures, and in particular those of the Stone Age. Stone tools may be made of either ground stone or napstone, the latter fashioned by a craftsman called a flint knapper. Stone has been used to make a wide variety of tools throughout history, including arrowheads, spearheads, hand axes, and querns. Napstone tools are nearly ubiquitous in pre-metal using society because they are easily manufactured. The two stone raw material usually plentiful, and they are easy to transport and sharpen. And so, the study of stone tools is a cornerstone of prehistoric archaeology because they are essentially indestructible and therefore a ubiquitous component of the archaeological record. Ethnoarchaeology is used to further the understanding and cultural implications of stone tool use and manufacture. Now you have napstone tools are made from cryptocrystalline materials such as kert or flint, radiolite or chalcedony, obsidian or basalt, and quartzite via a splitting process known as lithic reduction. One simple form of reduction is to strike stone flakes from a nucleus, core, or material using a hammerstone or similar hard hammer fabricator. If the goal is to produce flakes, the remnant lithic core may be discarded once too little remains. In some strategies, however, a flint knapper makes a tool from the core by reducing it to a rough unifacial or bifacial preform, which is further reduced by using soft hammer flaking or by pressure flaking the edges. More complex forms of reduction may produce highly standardized blades, which can then be fashioned into a variety of tools such as scrapers, knives, sickles, and microliths. Evolution. Now, archaeologists, they classify stone tools into industries, also known as complexes or techno-complexes, that share distinctive technological or morphological characteristics. In 1969, the second edition of World Prehistory, Graham Clark proposed an evolutionary progression of flint knapping in which the dominant lithic technologies occurred in a fixed sequence from mode 1 through mode 5. He assigned to them relative dates, modes 1 and 2 to the lower Paleolithic, 3 to the middle Paleolithic, 4 to the upper Paleolithic, and 5 to the Mesolithic. though there were other lithic technologies outside these modes. Each region had its own timeline for the succession of the modes. For example, mode 1 was in use in Europe long after it had been replaced by mode 2 in Africa. Clark's scheme was adopted enthusiastically by the archaeological community. One of its advantages was the simplicity of terminology. For example, the mode 1, mode 2 transition. The transitions are currently of greatest interest. Consequently, in the literature, the stone tools used in the period of the Paleolithic are divided into 4 modes, each of which designates a different form of complexity, and which in most cases followed a rough chronological order. Pre-mode 1. And so, all right, like they were saying, they had pre-mode 1. They found stone tools like over in Kenya and Ethiopia. Then you had mode 1, the old Doan industry. And then you have mode 2, the Acheulean industry. Then you got mode 3, the Mousterian industry. Then mode 4, the Aurignacian industry. Then mode 5, the microlithic industries. But this is very important information about the stone tools. Let me click over here to the entire period of prehistoric technology. And so, prehistoric technology is technology that predates recorded history. History is the study of the past using written records. Anything prior to the first written accounts of history is prehistoric, including earlier technology. About 2.5 million years before writing was developed, technology began with the earliest hominids, who used stone tools, which they first used to hunt food and later to cook. Now, when we talk about this hominids, who remember are known as the great apes or hominids, or a taxonomic family of primates that includes 8 extinct species and 4 genera: Pongo, the Bornean, Sumatran, and Tampanuli orangutan; gorilla, the eastern and western gorilla; Pan, the chimpanzee, and the bonobo. And Homo, of which only modern humans, Homo sapiens, remain. So that's what the hominid day. Now, as you know, they didn't say the gibbon. So the gibbon is not a hominid day. The hominid day, again, is the humans, the chimpanzees or pans, the gorillas, and the orangutans. So when it comes, so about 2.5 million years before writing was developed, technology began with the earliest hominids who used stone tools, which they first used to hunt food and later to cook. There are several factors that made the evolution of prehistoric technology possible or necessary. One of the key factors is behavioral modernity of the highly developed brain of Homo sapiens, capable of abstract reasoning, language, introspection, and problem solving. The advent of agriculture resulted in lifestyle changes from nomadic lifestyles to ones lived in homes with domesticated animals and land farmed using more varied and sophisticated tools. Art, architecture, music, and religion evolved over the course of the prehistoric periods. All right. All right. So, important information. And so, we're going to pick back up where we left off. And going to stay on this indefinitely. And again, prehistoric religion, traditional, ancient African religion. Gonna be talking about that indefinitely. And the branches of science, formal sciences, natural sciences, social sciences. Don't overlook math. And when you're talking about the branches of science, like formal sciences, natural sciences, social sciences, you have like engineering and medicine or health science or whatever. Math. Don't overlook math. Don't overlook math. Now I'm going to get ready to end today's video. Thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, for all the blessings and the guidance He provides us all with. Continue to pray about natural disasters. And continue to pray about wars that are being fought. And continue to pray. Continue to pray. Don't be pessimistic. Be optimistic. Have hope. That's the reason why don't need to be pessimistic. Be optimistic. Believe that there's hope. Have faith. So there's no reason to be pessimistic. When you believe, when you have faith, you being optimistic. When you pray, if you was a pessimist, you wouldn't even pray. But when you pray, you praying because you optimistic. You pretty sure that God gonna answer your prayer. You pretty sure. So be optimistic. Don't be pessimistic. Have doubt. Pessimists are doubtful. So have faith and walk by faith, not by sight. You know, and as time go on, you know, this year is winding down. This was this almost the end of September, finna be October, then November, then December, then a new year being. So been talking about having an idea, and still talking about it, but you know, the most important thing is being informed. So that was the thing, you know, being informed and everything. But you know, this year is winding down. But that's what I did it for. That was the point. Give people time to be informed, because the next stage is to move forward. So make sure people get the opportunity to be informed. You know, if you don't never give a person a chance to even hear anything, what you expect? But when people had the opportunity to hear, you know, they'd be like, oh yeah, you know what? That is a good idea. You know what? But you never gave a person a chance to even hear anything, you know, because you ain't have any, you know, you yourself didn't even have any confidence in the idea, you know what I'm saying? But I have confidence in my idea, so I don't have any reason to just give people a chance to be, you know, like I said, ain't nobody trying to rob the bank or nothing. Making good music. So, and you ain't doing nothing wrong, you know. Matter of fact, I've been listening to the concerto and everything, and well, not today, but you know, concerto that's pretty good learning. You know, that broadened my horizon. I be enlightened by concerto, you know, because it gave me a whole different, you know, the concerto, it gave me a whole different perspective on just music, period. Because it made me look back at the person, you know, the people who was behind the concerto and where they got their inspiration from. And, you know, so I was like, man, you know, and they took the instruments, and it was important. You know, instruments was important. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? It's important. Right, you know what I'm saying? So concerto means a lot. You know, it's important. And you can learn a lot. And then that's the same thing about the choir, about singing, the vocals, and everything. It's important. Concerto make a lot of sense, you know, because of course you can completely move all the instruments out the way and just sing a cappella. Well, that's good. You're still learning. See, you have to learn about music, and then you apply what you learn, and you apply it in the fashion that it's supposed to be done. Now, You have people that try to do things in a crooked way, because they're criminals. Make no mistake about it. Some people are criminals, and they'll try to be violent. They'll try to be violent because they're criminals. So you have to be prepared to defend yourself, because they're criminals. They're just like, they're just somebody trying to steal. Let's just say you wrote something down and somebody stole it. Or let's just say, you remember back in the day when they had those cassette tapes. And let me just give you probably seen them movie, Hustle and Flow. Take it for example. You probably seen them movie, Hustle and Flow. The guy was, hustling, and he had a cassette tape. You probably heard, a cassette tape. Somebody, you trying to hustle get your hustle in, and you gave somebody your cassette tape. But you trusted them that they were going to do the right thing with your cassette tape. Now, it's yours, not theirs, it's yours. And you gave your cassette tape to somebody because you trusted them with your cassette tape and that they was going to do the right thing. See, a lot of people, they don't do the right thing. A lot of people ain't never did the right thing. They crooks. They stole other people's music and claimed it as theirs. No, we can't always look at things in today's, in today. When you look back, it ain't always been recorded music. It ain't always been sheet music. It ain't always been sheet music where people actually write music down. And see, that's the important thing about a concerto. Because see, when you be talking about sheet music, see, that was the persons who did those concertos, they wrote it down. They wrote it down. And they got the credit for it because here it is today. We still sitting around performing those concertos that were done years ago in the past. And so you can learn a lot from listening to concertos. All the instruments important. The tuba, the euphonium, they're important because they have a concerto that was done by artists. And you got the trumpet and the trombone and the French horn. The tuba and the euphonium are just as important because there are concertos for that. Then you got the bassoon, the oboe, the clarinet, all the saxophones, all the concerto. It's important. You can learn a lot about it. And then, of course, the percussion, and then, the symphony, all that is important. All that's important. And then these concertos were done years ago. But those concertos, they still apply today. You could be sitting, a person be sitting at the piano and everything. It still apply today. The concerto is important. And every one of those instruments is important. So a few more minutes, it'll be an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it an hour. Like I said, it wasn't my intent to start at this time, but still I made my video. That was important, you know. Sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes things come up that you don't expect and everything, you know, they kind of, but like I said though, the concerto is important. Let me check something. Now let me say this before I end today's video. Of course, you know, a concerto you know, Baroque music or whatever. But the concerto, let me say this. The concerto originated as a genre of vocal music in the late 16th century. The instrumental variant appeared around a century later. So like I said, like I said before I end the video, I'm gonna say this again. The concerto originated as a genre of vocal music in the late 16th century. And then they said the instrumental variant appeared around a century later. You understand? And then, you know, different composers and things like, for example, so then Giuseppe Torelli and Angelo Corelli started to publish their concertos. Then a few decades later, Venetian composers such as Antonio Vivaldi had written hundreds of violin concertos while also producing solo concertos for other instruments such as the cello or woodwind instruments. A concerti grassi for a group of soloists. Then you had the first keyboard concertos, such as George Frederick Handel's organ concertos and Johann Sebastian Bach's harpsichord concerto were written around the same time. You know? You know, I just been sitting here reading, you got various other instruments that they make concertos for. Because they said, because they made, like in the second half of the 18th century, the piano became the most used keyboard instrument and composers of the classical era, such as Joseph Haydn, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Ludwig van Beethoven. Each wrote several piano concertos and, to a lesser extent, violin concertos and concertos for other instruments. Then in the Romantic era, many composers, including Niccolo Paganini and Felix Mendelssohn and Frederick Chopin, Robert Schumann and Johann Brahms and Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky and Sergei Rachmaninoff continued to write solo concertos and, more exceptionally, concertos for more than one instrument. 19th century concertos for instruments other than the piano, violin, and cello remain comparatively rare, however. In the first half of the 20th century, concertos were written by, among others, Maurice Ravel, Edward Elgar, Richard Strauss, Sergei Prokofiev, and George Gershwin, Hector Villa-Lobos, Joaquin Rodrigo, and Bela Bartok. The latter also composed concerto for orchestra, and that is without soloists. During the 20th century, concertos appeared by major composers for orchestra instruments which had been neglected in the 19th century, such as the clarinet, the viola, and the French horn. And then in the second half of the 20th century and onwards into the 21st, a great many composers have continued to write concertos, including Alfred Schmicky, Georgy Ligeti, Dmitri Shostakovich, Philip Glass, and James Macmillan, among many others. An interesting feature of this period is the proliferation of concerti for less usual instruments, including orchestras, ones such as the double bass by composers like Edward Tubin or Peter Maxwell Davis and Cor Anglius, or that's an English horn, like those by Macmillan and Aaron J. Kearney, but also folk instruments such as Tubin's concerto for Balalaka, Sarah's concerto in C major for Bassetti accordion, or the concertos for harmonica. There we go. By Villa-Lobos and Malcolm Arnold, and even Deep Purple's concerto for group and orchestra, a concerto for a rock band. See what I'm talking about? See, the concerto is important. Concerto is important. And what was that? Or concertos for harmonica. What? Concertos for previous ages have remained a conspicuous part of the repertoire for concert performances and recordings. Less common has been the previously common practice of the composition of concertos by a performer to be performed personally, though the practice has continued via certain composer performers such as Daniel Trifonov. So, like I said, as you can see, when it comes to music, concerto started out for vocals. So, like I said, gonna continue to work on my idea, but gonna continue, just, and then there's gonna come a point we're gonna move to the next stage. So, but one thing for sure, it won't be none of that sampling, cause that's whack. The good thing about radio is when you had the opportunity to hear original music. I would just, just like sometimes I'll be listening to WDI, and just like the staple singers. That's original music. And I like listening to me some staple singers. I really do. I'm a big fan of the staple singers in their music. I always, and I like soul music, but I like blues music too. Because I can be listening, to the music and everything. A lot of, like the staple singers and of course B.B. King, and the list goes on and on. Johnny Taylor, and the list goes on and on and on. I can just sit here. And then when it comes to soul music, of course, I can't never leave out Sam Cooke, and then Jackie Wilson. Like I said, the list goes on and on and on. But a lot of things that people did, it was original music, original. Not somebody else's, original. Just like with Sam Cooke, send me, that's original. Darling, you send me, that's original, right? Sam Cooke, that's original music. There wasn't no sampling or the instruments or nothing. The lyrics or anything, that was original music. Like what's the name? Otis Redding. There's a lot of music Otis Redding did is original music. Then sometimes I'll be listening to 87.7 right on radio. And then man, that's when I really started seeing how people took other people's music, because you had soul music, disco, funk music, R&B, and then you'll start hearing this so-called hip hop. And there, it's things that you'll hear. Sometimes it could be a little thing about an instrument. Sometimes I'll be listening to the instruments, and sometimes I'll be listening, and I can just hear some, like a little, it could be an instrument, or it could be like a little piece of something, like the background or something. I'll be like, man, you know what? I said, man, you know what? That sound familiar. And I'll be thinking, I'd be like, oh man, I done heard that before. I done heard it before. That's where it came from. I'm like, man. See, sometimes people don't always take the whole thing. They'll take a little bit, tidbits, and then that's where it came from. And then you be like, where that came from? You be like, oh man, that hip hop, man, hip hop this and that, and man, that's you be. And then something, I just be sitting there in the WDIA, and I'll be sitting there in the 87.7. You know, sometimes I listen to a YouTube video, and they had these DJs, they be making DJ, then man, I just be sitting there, I'll be like, man, now I see where it came from. That's where it came from. Oh, because I done heard it, you know, on 87.7. I'm like, oh, okay. You sampling other people's music. Yeah, that's whack. It's whack. Like I said, man, you know, it's gonna come a day when things gonna move forward, and you know, what was that? Concerto for harmonica. What? Well, you gotta step your game up. What? Well, you gotta step your game up now. What? Oh yeah, I know. I got the keyboard back there. Oh yeah, but I ain't finna be trying to get on that level. It take years to be on that level with a piano. Hey, you got to be like one of them, what they call a protege. You had to start out as a child on the piano. You just can't go, you know, like me. You don't go just go buy you. You won't go buy the keyboard. You think you gonna no, not no concerto now. You might make a beat or something. You might pick on there and be like, oh okay. But hey, talking about a concerto at the piano, no. You gotta be, man. You gotta start out as a child and take years and years. Looking, I'm finna get ready to end today's video. Again, my name is Eric D. Johnson. Also on BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis. It's in the county, Shelby State, Tennessee. Thank my family, my support for the encourage support. And I'm gonna come back in my next video, and we're gonna continue to be on prehistoric religion, traditional, ancient African religion, indefinitely, and the branches of science, formal sciences, natural sciences, social sciences, and you know, don't forget engineering and medicine. You know, health, math. Don't overlook math. And if we need to, you know, if it's a need, we can always refer back to some of the things I don't know we had to go over in the past. No problem. I mean, you know, they still, as of the day 2025, the drones be flying around. They got the satellites out there in outer space. They still have not found the origin of Gnosticism. So, you know, the satellites are going all over the earth, and they can look down in the ground, you know, apparently, you know, and scan the earth out. There's a possibility that the satellite can get satellite images of the oceans, and you know, because the continents moved, drifted, and all that. You know, they still have not found the origin of Gnosticism. So, you know, but they find other stuff in the process of looking for the origins of narcissism. So, if we need to go back, refer back to syncretizing and eclectic and all that, if it's necessary, then so be it. And so, until next time, take care of yourself. Wish each and every one the very best.